Video, we'll be going over the IRS notice CP101. So this is a notice from the IRS that they made changes to IRS Form 940, which is an employer's annual tax return right here, specifically for the federal unemployment tax. So if you had to file this and the IRS notice either changes or discrepancies or errors, then you might receive IRS notice CP101, where the IRS will indicate what they noticed was different, changes that they made, and then if they decided or if they had to assess a tax penalty and interest, they will do that as well. So let's go ahead and start with the upper right hand corner. You can see the notice number CP101. The tax period is the period that ended December 31st, 2016. The notice date, February 9th, 2017. The employer ID number at question, which should be your tax ID number for your business, and then the phone number to contact the IRS. On the left-hand side should be your taxpayer information, your address and such. So I'm going to make two observations that I usually make. First, pay attention to the notice date, because there are often times when you may see a due date on an action item that happens to correspond to your notice date. That's not the case in this notice, but I have seen that in the past. So always keep an eye on the notice date and make sure that you're aware of that. The second thing is make sure that you keep your address correct, either as an individual or as a business owner. And when you file your tax return, if you put your new address on your tax return, the IRS will automatically update your records. But if you have moved after filing your tax return, then you may consider filing either IRS Form 8822, which is the change of address form for individual taxpayers, or in this case, IRS Form 8822-B, which is the business version of that change of address form. So that way you'll keep up to date on notices. The vast majority of the time, taxpayers are not expecting IRS correspondence, so it's always a good practice to keep your address up to date with the Internal Revenue Service in the case that you receive correspondence. Let's go ahead and take a look at this notice. Specifically, this is for IRS Form 940, and to the left it shows that the IRS believes you made miscalculations specifically to tax deposits that were recorded in your tax return. And after the changes to your return to correct those errors, the IRS indicates that you owe $2,234.82. So that's a combination of the tax deficiency as well as a failure to make a proper federal tax deposit penalty, a failure to pay penalty, and then accrued interest. So you can contact the IRS to get more information on how they calculated that. But what the IRS will say is you need to do one of a couple things immediately. So first, if you don't think there is a mistake, then you should pay the unpaid tax. And it gives you specific dates. So in this case, the notice date was February 9th, 2017. If you pay the unpaid tax within 10 days, you can avoid future interest charges. You have to pay the full balance by March 2nd of 2017 to avoid additional interest or additional penalty charges. Write your check or money order payable to the United States Treasury. Make sure you include your tax ID number, the tax period, and the form number on your payment. You should also include this slip with that information as well. So you should pay the full balance by March 2nd to avoid any additional interest charges. If you can't pay the amount due, the IRS will ask that you pay as much as you can. You can discuss payment options by calling the IRS. They might discuss things like entering into an installment agreement or a payment plan of some sort. If you think there's a mistake, then you should call the IRS. Have your payment information and a copy of your tax return available to review over the phone. You can also contact the IRS by mail. That's going to be a longer process, but there is a contact information form down here at the bottom that you can include if you want. Now, what I might suggest is that you take a look at the payments that were credited to your account and make sure that they match up to your records. I don't know anything about this tax return since it's a completely fictitious one. The thing that I would point out is that if this is something that was filed every month on a monthly basis, it looks like the months of July, August, and November are missing. And based on the payment amounts, it looks like you could make an educated guess that perhaps those missing amounts would have been pretty close to the taxes owed. So again, what I would recommend is you verify this against your record. If for some reason there's a tax deposit that did not post, then it's going to be incumbent upon you to go back to the IRS and prove that you did make those payments, that the IRS did accept that check, or you have a canceled check, or if you have an email confirmation for an online payment. Whatever the case may be, you should have received a receipt or documentation. And you should be able to use that to go back, if you need to discuss those missing payments that weren't posted. If you can't do that, then you probably are going to end up in the area of having to pay the taxes that are due. So again, there's additional information about what happens if you don't pay the unpaid tax, information about how the information was changed. Specifically, in this case, the IRS found the reported amount of total federal tax deposits to be different from what was credited to your account. So again, that's the point of discussion. So be prepared if you do make that phone call. Here are the listed payments. So this would be, again, incumbent upon you to post, proof that you actually did make those payments for some reason. So again, here are the common reasons why the IRS would have charged the penalty: if you didn't make your deposit on time, if you didn't deposit it enough, if you paid your tax directly to the IRS, or if you did not deposit your tax electronically as required by law. So you can find more information in the Employer's Tax Guide, IRS Publication 15, or the Agricultural Employer's Tax Guide, Publication 51. Here is more information on the failure to pay tax penalty, which is taxed at a penalty rate of 0.5%. And they kind of give you the breakdown of, how many months, the unpaid amount, and then the rate. You may be able to qualify for some sort of mitigation based on a hardship, or but you would need to identify the specific penalties and then give some sort of explanation on why you believe it would be reconsidered, sign your statement, and mail it to the IRS. And then again, on the back, there is more information about how they calculated interest, so if there are penalties that end up being abated, the IRS may go back and remove the interest on the abated penalties. And here's an explanation of how it works. So the interest on some penalties accrues from the date of notification until it's paid in full. There are some other penalties, like the failure to pay, the failure to file, that start from the due date, even without being notified. and then the IRS just calculates interest accordingly. The IRS will give you information and give you an opportunity if you relied on IRS information or written advice and you gave a complete account of your tax situation, you may be able to request an abatement of penalties that were applied after you followed your guidance. And then down at the bottom, there's a link to the website. Let's take a quick look at what this says. It basically paraphrases what's in your written notice. There's a series of frequently asked questions, such as how you can find out what you caused your tax return to change, how the interest and penalties work on your outstanding balances, things of that nature, tips to avoid future occurrences in the future. And that's about it. So we'll put links in the show notes to forms and topics that were mentioned here. But if you receive your CP101 notice, then you should pay close attention and go back through your records. If you have a reason to dispute it with the IRS, make sure you have that conversation, but be prepared to pay your tax. So if you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. If you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our channel. And if you have any questions or comments, or if there's another tax topic that you'd like to see a video about, please hit me up in the comments section. Thank you very much and have a nice day.